What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Magic Moments, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the MMC Defensor. It's been a long journey, but all 5 are out. If you're looking for the transformation to combine mode, you won't find it here. All of those transformations are covered in the individual videos about the robots, so feel free to watch those and catch up. And then now we're going to show you how to put it together and then talk about the kind of success of it, or lack thereof. Time will tell. So without further ado, I'm sure everybody's excited. Let's go ahead and get started. But first, we're going to start with accessories and we're going to build some guns. Real quick, the Blades review will be this week, either Wednesday or Thursday. Look forward to that, but right now we're going to get Defensor out. Alright, so these are the guns that you're utilizing, and you just take this, make sure the larger combiner handle is down. The groove guns lock in here on the side. I think I might like them a little bit underneath there like that. And honestly, I like the groove guns on groove for combine mode. It just beefs them up a little bit. This sits on top. There's a peg that goes in and then a tab that locks it in. This gun sits in the back on top, and then is that it? Yeah, this gun we don't use, right? These 2 guns we don't use. I think it's just these. I'll double check that. Maybe there's something here in the bottom. Yeah, maybe like that. Nope. Maybe like that. I don't know. Let's try this one. So we have gun. These are tabs. And the tabs are very small in comparison to the slot they go in. But it's working. This tabs into the top, same way. Boom. Let's see if this one can hold it any better. I don't think so. No. But there you go. There's something. And he'll hold that just fine with these tabs on the handle that'll plug in to the palm of his hand and then wrap the fingers around it. Gimmick wise, you can also give him the collared look by taking this piece out here and rotating this up and then bringing all of this forward and locking it back in on top. And then you have to fix all of this stuff again and then close these back up. But I do want to show real quick that these little pieces here fold down, and that's what pegs in and latches on. But like I said, I'll show it in the final thoughts. Okay, so we're going to start with groove. There's where the brake lights are here at the bottom, there is an indentation, and that will fit around this top notch here on this piece on our foot. There's a bottom piece of the foot that will fit around these pegs inside of Groove's bottom section there as well. And we're just gonna try this. There we go. Got her. And then this comes up. You got to bend the knee to get access to this plate here. That pushes up. There's a T groove that will line up. That pushes down. We'll close that up. One leg done. We'll get ready for the next. So, same thing with Streetwise. Split this here at the bottom. You can open these up a bit. This one relies mostly, excuse me, on just that front piece. The front notch, but it's the same sort of deal. So, this will give you more access if you have the foot bent like that. And then, I gotta see what I'm doing here. There we go. Make sure that these are open here. We're We're gonna bring up our leg again. Same thing. Bend the knee like Daenerys wants you to. Open up this little flap. Came loose here. All right. This comes up. Grabs onto the T's again. This one's a little bit more finicky because a lot of these pieces aren't locked in place. There's one. Nope. You know, and I got a little piece of flash on mine here too that I might have to shave off. No, I'm gonna have to mess with it off camera. So I eventually got it, but I did have to shave a piece of plastic off, like a piece of flash. And then these clip in to this rail here on the side to kind of straighten everything up on both sides. There's like a little small black rectangular tab that is the same length as the space between these two notches. And actually, I think I might want this underneath there. Yeah. Just for aesthetics. And it might help also with clearance. Yeah. Now we're stuck in. Whew. All right. So that was unfortunate. That was enough. That might be specific to me, though. Do you know what I mean? I might have had a piece of flash. Like it was, I hope you saw it in the footage. Like it was a clear and present piece of flash of plastic. So, all right, we'll move on. All right. So we're going to add in an arm. This combiner port here, when it comes a quarter turn off with this back piece that opens and closes towards the back. If you just rotate that 90 degrees, then you'll have it towards the bottom. Take this piece here. You're going to insert it. And once you have it inserted, you close up your locking mechanism on the shoulder joint. You'll hear it clip in, and you've got them good to go. Alrighty, so now we got on this guy. Same thing on this side. It needs a quarter turn, but this one needs to be up instead of down. The reason why is because these combiner ports, they have a tab there, and the helicopter Blades has it at the top, and First Aid has it at the bottom. So I know it's really not the best visual. Let me see if I can't change this a little bit. And then clip in, and you're good to go. I'll clean them up. We'll take a look at them. So let's get in on the face sculpt for Dennis. And it's nice. Now, if you remember the hotspot, I believe, I can't remember, it came with an alternate face. We've already looked at it in a separate review. But, I don't know. I think they're both kind of, the differences between the two are so minute, but this one has a little bit extra sculpted detail and stuff in the fins. You know, up to you. Your prerogative. The head. Let me see if I can't. Well, you can look up a little bit. You can look down a little bit. There it is. And you get the swivel. I'm going to say I thought it was there. All right. So that's good. I think the gray might be painted. The eyes are definitely painted a metallic blue. Let's back out a little bit. We'll look at these arms. So we have universal joints for the shoulders. That'll get you up to 90 degrees and holds like a champ. Ratcheted 360 around. Once again, holds like a champ. Love that. And there's even a butterfly joint, or as we say around here, a billified joint. How tremendous is that? Love to see it. Let's continue. So, we have a bicep swivel. We have a double jointed elbow that gets you a hair past 90 degrees. I'll take it, especially for a combiner. Now, the hands, right? So you get a quarter turn on the wrist swivel because of the all-in-one. However, there is an extra swivel joint below the elbow. Usually you don't need that. Usually that's a redundant joint, but because these only go a quarter turn, you can utilize that, and now you can get the arm all the way around, the hand all the way around. So really smart stuff. Love to see it. The thumb is on a hinge, and then a ball peg, and then a secondary and tertiary hinge. The fingers are all independently articulated. They can spread out, and there is a base hinge, a secondary hinge, and a tertiary hinge. So completely articulated fingers. We're going to move on. We do both arms for combiner. We won't do both hands because they're the same. Now, this guy sits a little loose in mine, and it's not... I know that people are missing a combiner element with the combiner port, and you haven't seen my blades review yet, but it's in. I've got this right. But it's like, I don't know, the clip here isn't clipping all the way or something. It doesn't snap the same way, but it's in there. But there's just a little bit of a wibble wobble with mine. There is a universal joint that's ratcheted, same. Can we get her up there? There. Up to 90 degrees. And then the 360 around and your Abilify joint. And then all of this is the same. I'll be honest with you, if this were mine and I was going to keep it in combiner, and I'm going to have a combiner hopefully one day of the X-Transbots one, I think that I'm probably, and I don't, cartoon be damned, I think I'll probably form up the top of this helicopter. I'm not crazy about the aesthetic of that. But it's personal preference, and I paid money for it, so I can do what I want. Do what I want. All right. Waist swivel. It gets jammed up a little bit with some of this stuff in the back, but it is there. There's also a pretty impressive ab crunch joint that gets him like all the way over. This guy is impressive. All right. Let's go talk about some hips. So we have these hip skirts here. They're all attached to the thigh. They get out of the way. The hip skirts here on the buttocks. They get out of the way. You had to unpeg it to get reverse movement on the hip. But forward, you get out to 90 degrees. Holds like a champ. And then out to the side, just shy of 90 degrees. Holds like a champ. I mean, I'm applying a fair amount of pressure to get it to start moving. And there's a lot of weight. It's well done. You know, I would call it if it wasn't. Thigh swivel. Put this back up. Thigh swivel. Knees. Get you a little bit more than 90 degrees. On streetwise. And on groove. And then the ankles. Slight ankle tilt down. You get a toe tilt up. I wish the toes locked in, because they do have a tendency to fold up, and it does throw off the solidity of it a bit. And then you get a slight rocker. Once again, limitations are in... I'm sorry, you didn't see any of that, did you? Slight rocker, a little bit of a toe tilt up, little bit of a rocker, a little bit of an ankle tilt. The feet are one element of this that lack a bit. And that's because of the all-in-one, but even with the all-in-one, they could have taken a few steps and tightened her up a bit. Like, even if, like, the toe piece here, when it swung down, it locked into the foot. You lose the toe tilt articulation, but I don't think too many of us would cry about that. Let's see. Let's get a back view. Incredibly clean. Incredibly clean. It's really well done overall. But let's do some size comparisons. Size comparison wise, there he is with a Fans Toys kind of core bot, a X-Transbots Constructicon, and a MMC Limbot. And I think it's a decent enough size. It's not my preference of size. I kind of like the size that Fans Toys and X-Transbots and Zeta kind of established, but it's not a bad size. It's not awful. It won't fit in necessarily if you have the other ones, but if you're going MMC, it should probably fit fine. I'm going to give you a tape measurement as well, just because I'm not sure that you guys are planning on putting him somewhere that... So he's about 17 inches, maybe a little shy of 17 inches from toe to top of his head in an A stance, if that helps. But hopefully that gives you some idea. Final thoughts-wise, let's start with the negative. From a build perspective, it was really challenging for me to get streetwise connected. Not impossible, obviously, but just a bit challenging. And my blades is a little loose. And it's not the connection point inside of blades. It's the connection point of the combiner port to the combiner peg of blades. It's that connection there. It's almost like it needs to sink in a little bit further. Articulation-wise, I know I praised the wrist and hands with that extra articulation, and it does work well. However, I had a challenge with trying to get him to like hold his gun across his body, which was the plan here, even with the bilify joints and stuff because of the limitations of the wrist. But it is a small nitpick. Now, the big disappointment here are the feet and how they work. And it's 100% because of the all-in-one. But this guy is so incredibly dynamic, the feet are the one thing that kind of hold him back. Don't get me wrong, it's entirely impressive how they were able to do it. But with that being said, it still holds the entire piece back in doing so. And I think that's all I got. Before we move on to the positives, I do want to mention that he cannot do the T pose because the shoulder articulation joint is in the shoulder. That does limit the figure also. I forgot to mention it. I need to be consistent because I've mentioned it on other combiners. So I need to mention it here. But let's move on to the positives because there is plenty to say. Proportions are great. They have learned so much since Bruticus and it is insanely obvious. The joints are incredibly stable. Shoulders, hips, knees, elbows, wrists, everything is locked in and tight. Articulation, outstanding. Great range in the hips, past 90 in the knees, past 90 in the elbows, bilified joints, ab crunches, everything but the feet. Sculpt is great. Enough paint accents to get by, specifically in the combine mode. It's funny because I've gigged them a lot for lack of paint throughout this series, but together there is enough stuff between the accents, the few painted pieces, the translucent plastics that are used, etc., to get it by. The all-in-one nature of it is incredibly impressive. The fact that they were able to do all of the articulation with that, plus little stuff like the box around the head, so to speak, all of it, like I think it's incredibly impressive, and I think they should be proud of themselves. I'm not sure if it's going to work for your collection scale-wise combined. I'm keeping them in robot mode, and I'm entirely happy with my purchase and can recommend them to you. Strong release. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.